This film, based on a true story, warns us how terrible the power of nature can destroy humans in an instant. Starting in 62 AD, where we are still in the form of a MOBA, the film begins in the northern British, a Celtic village that has a horse expert skill. Seen a boy named Milo waking up from his sleep because he heard the commotion outside the tent. So this child came out and witnessed his tribe to be slaughtered by the Romans from the Eagle forces, led by Senator Corvus. They attacked this tribe because they thought they had committed a rebellion. Mello witnessed the incident, how the soldiers killed his father, who was also a tribal chief. Mello's mother came trying to save, but both of them were hit by horse soldiers who made them bounce. And finally, this woman was executed sadistically with the others, while Milo pretended to die, still not moving in sadness. After that, the Senator Corvus ordered his assistant named Proculus to kill all the horse rider tribes so that no one was left to be able to revenge. After all the members were killed, their bodies were then stacked, including Milo, who still pretended to die. The next day, after Roma's troops left, little Mello crawled out of a pile of corpses and saw the bodies of his parents hung on a tree, and he would remember this for revenge. Little Milo survived alone in the middle of the forest, but bad luck came again because it was discovered by a group of slave hunters from Britain and made as a gladiator fighter. 17 years later, in the city of Londilium, the Greeks attended the battle arena to see the gladiator battle, also looking for new gladiator candidates that they would bring to the larger gladiator arena. Seen Mello is an adult using another name, Celt, and will make a gladiator battle. Milo easily beats the 3 best gladiators in that place. The greatness of Milo attracted the attention of a famous battle promoter named Ron King. King was interested in this young man who finally bought Mello to be used as one of his fighters and planned to take him to the city of Pompeii, because in that city celebrating the festival there would also be a gladiator match that would produce many dollars. While on the way to the city of Pompeii, by chance a horse-drawn carriage carrying a Pompey princess named Cassia had an accident where the train tire was trapped into a hole so that one of the horses slipped. Milo, as a descendant of the horse rider, asked permission from the guards to help. And with the help of Princess Cassia, Milo was allowed to help his horse. But when checked, it turned out that the 2 feet of the horse were broken, which means to be paralyzed, because it was sorry that Milo killed the horse in a way that was not, in a way, hurtful. This also attracted the attention of Cassia, who was the first time seeing men understand and handling horses. After the meeting, they continued their journey and arrived in the city of Pompeii, which was located not far from an active mountain named Vesuvius. Because of the street festival to be full, Cassia and an assistant named Irani decided to go down and walk towards his house. After arriving, Cassia was welcomed by his parents, who were the leader of the city of Pompeii named Severus, and his mother named Aurelius. Cassia told the reasons for returning from Rome, even though in fact it was still less than 1 year to study politics in Rome, because the Roman government had changed after the empire was taken over by Emperor Titus. In the evening, Cassia visited her favorite white horse, because it had not been riding Ferris for a long time, so asked Felix to take Ferris to travel as a warm-up because tomorrow will be used around in the city. In a different place, Milo was brought to the basement where the gladiator was detained. When Milo was eating, unconsciously observed by a senior gladiator named Editus, who was curious about his fighting ability. Suddenly some gladiator approached Milo for revenge for not accepting their brothers to be killed by Milo during the battle in the Londium. And Milo easily defeated them, but the guard immediately came to break up. Then, as a sentence of Milo was put in a prison where the Editus was already in it. When they first met, the two showed a bad relationship by starting to debate each other about their respective prowess and promised to kill each other when met at the gladiator arena, La Freedom. At the same time, Mount Vesuvius began to show a little strength, showing natural reactions. Felix, who was carrying a horse near the lake, began to feel uneasy, and that's when the lake near them began to issue hot bubbles, making Ferris fear of escaping, while Felix, who fell, ended in a landslide. The next day, the slave guard brought all his slaves into the arena, forcing them to practice, because the gladiator show will be held in a few days. In the exercise, the slave guard said that the Editus would make the last battle, and if you win, the Editus will get freedom. Hearing this, Editus arrogantly challenged the gladiator, who would be his opponent later, what turned out to be Milo. Then both of them began to fight hard in front of the other gladiators.
But I'm going to...
Even though they only use wood swords, they seemed to kill each other. When Milo managed to drop the Editus to the ground, suddenly the gladiator who had fought with Milo quietly pulled out a knife, trying to stab from behind. Fortunately, Edititus realized this and immediately kicked the gladiator so that there was a commotion. That night, Milo questioned the reason why saving him from the gladiator who wanted to stab. Editus does that because death from the wound on the back is a disgrace for a gladiator who can only kill Milo, is him. In the middle of the city of the Corvus senator group arrived in Pompeii, but Corvus realized that the Pompeii residents did not welcome his arrival, even though he was a high-ranking official of the Roman Empire, and they should pay homage to him. The mayor of Severus and his wife then welcomed Corvus, who claimed his purpose was to come to Pompeii to invest in the business of the construction of the gladiator arena. But Severus is not sure that Corvus has another mission to come to the city of Pompeii. So Aurelia asked her daughter, who had previously studied de Roma's politics. Before having time to answer, Cassia was shocked by the arrival of Vers, who was wild and fearful that everyone became confused, as well as Felix, who was lost somewhere. That night, the two slaves returned to debate, because Milo said that the promised freedom was only nonsense, that could not be real, because in fact, the Romans were heinous and cowardly, so they would never keep a promise. Then, the selected gladiator was sent to the house of the mayor of Severus, because it was holding a welcoming party, the arrival of the Corvus senator. While on his way to the party, Milo accidentally saw the Proculus, who had killed his parents, but Milo could still hold back and stay calm. After arriving, the gladiator was exhibited to be rented out to rich women who wanted to feel the strong muscles of horsepower. Meanwhile, in another room, the mayor of Pompeii talked about the business that Corvus would do, because he claimed to use personal money to invest in the city. After that, asking her daughter to come to see her. Everest realized that she could not refuse the wishes of the senator, so he was forced to ask Cassia to do it. When the two met, it turned out that they had known each other while in Rome. This was finally revealed. The real goal was to make Carissa his wife. Obviously, this was rejected by Carissa, and immediately left Corvus with a feeling of disappointment. 15 minutes later, suddenly Mount Vesuvius shook again, making party visitors panic, including horses in the cage. Cassia saw his horse frightened, asking the slave guards to let Milo enter the cage to check and calm Ferris. After entering, he tried as much as possible so that the horse became comfortable and calm, even though initially had difficulty, but the horse was finally able to calm down. After feeling safe, Cassia entered the cage, and both of them met, who turned out to be the two of them had fallen in love at the first sight at that time. Milo invited Cassia to ride Ferris, breaking out the door, planning to run out of the city. After staying away, they are aware that they will continue to be pursued by Roma troops and this area is surrounded by mountains and hills. Then, both of them chose to return to the city and ended captured. Here, Cassia defended Milo, that her horses, who were still scared, made them carried away. Corvus also forgives, but must be paid with the law of whip 15 times in front of everyone, to be an example. In the Editus prison, treat his wound with anger, tells me that he has met with someone who slaughtered his family. It was revealed that Editus experienced the same incident, that his family was also slaughtered by Rome's troops. And because both of them had the same hatred towards Rome, they finally chose to be friends. The next day is the day of the Battle of the Gladiator held by the great Dibera, so that all Pompeii gathered in the stands to watch a deadly duel. The mayor's family and Corvus were also there. But in the Battle of the Rule has been changed by Corvus, where the gladiators chained in a tower right in the middle of the arena and forced to fight dozens of other gladiators. These gladiators are shocked because this fight is the same as suicide. And this deadly fight began in an unbalanced battle, makes many gladiator killed, leaving only Milo and Editus. They continue to fight troops who continue to attack. Editus has the idea to cut the tower. The tower then collapsed. Then Milo took one of the horses, and with the chain that binded him to comb Roma's troops like lice. The remaining troops left one person who had bought him up, and in an instant, Milo managed to kill this soldier. Milo then took the eagle stick symbol of the Corvus troops and broke in front of everyone as a sign of insult. This made Corvus angry and ordered his soldiers to kill Milo. Fortunately, Princess Cassia stopped this troop so that they were saved. Corvus became even more angry and forced Cassia to become his wife. If it refuses, Corvus will tell the Emperor Rome that the mayor has committed an insult and will be sentenced to death. There is no other choice, so Cassia is forced to obey orders and locked up in the villa. After that, Mount Vesuvius trembled for a moment, but Corvus was arrogant if Mount Vesuvius was signaling that the winner of the battle would fight Roma's best troops. And he was the Proculus, then the champion from Rome, to face Milo. While Editus is brought back to the lower prison, Milo remembered that Proculus was the person who executed his parents, and this was the right moment for revenge. When in the battle, suddenly, Mount Vesuvius began to really be angry by starting to erupt the black volcanic ash that covered the sky to make the land tremble violently, so that everyone panicked. But before he had time to save themselves, the stands became collapsed and burying part of the population. The careless Proculus was driven by Milo until it fell down the basement to fight again. But because the Proculus was too strong, Milo deliberately released gladiator slaves, including Epictetus, to fight to beat him up. Fortunately, the Proculus managed to escape, while the slave guard had to be killed by the gladiator. Above the Aurelia, who was dying, asked the Phenaris to immediately kill Corvus, who was fainting. But the plan failed because Corvus immediately woke up and reversed the situation by killing Aphinus. Then Corvus and Proculus immediately went to save themselves. Meanwhile, Ron King, who was still alive, was crammed with residents who wanted to immediately ride the boat in the port of Pompeii because he did not want to die in this city. So King gave a bag of money to the captain so that he was finally able to climb onto the boat. Vesuvius erupted again, threw dozens of hot stones like a meteor. Returning to those Milo who will head to the Villa Savior, Cassia asks that Edius save himself towards the port, and they promise to meet there. While in Villa Arani, tried to open the locked but useless villa door because the guard soldier had escaped to save himself. Whereas inside, Cassia saw the wall that began to crack, and finally the villa collapsed. Milo, who came immediately, took Cassia from the ruins and asked Arani to take water. But when Yanni was about to take water, suddenly, the floor vibrated, causing landslides, and Ayani died to fall into the ocean. But there was no time to be sad, because they both had to leave immediately. In the middle of Ron King's sea, thinking is safe. He did not expect fires that were thrown right towards his direction. Bullseye! Mount Vesuvio, again coughing with a more powerful eruption, created a tsunami wave that is ready to hit the mainland of Pompeii city. Everyone at the port, panic, immediately ran back to the city center. It was seen that Editus was saving a child and his mother. Then, he immediately ran fearfully, like being pursued by a devil. Fortunately, Editus survived and handed the child to his mother. The water stopped after a boat closed the door hole from the city barrier wall. But this disaster has not ended, because Vesuvius erupted again through thousands of hot stones that could make anyone forfeited and died instantly. They finally met with Editus and explained the port was destroyed. So they planned to return to the arena to take the horse there, hoping to get out of the city of Pompeii. When Milo and Editus looked for a horse, Cassia found his parents dead, who suddenly, unconsciously Corvus, appeared to catch him. While under, they realized that all horses have been taken by Rome's troops. Then they immediately returned to the arena to see Cassia had been captured and would be brought by Corvus using a horse-drawn carriage. Before going to Corvus, he ruled all the soldiers to kill them both. After killing all the soldiers, now they must face the Proculus. Editus told Milo to chase his girlfriend, and he promised to kill Proculus for him. Editus, who was urged to get a stab wound in his stomach, but he did not give up by holding the Proculus so as not to leave, then broke the sword that stuck his stomach and stabbed it into the throat of the Prolus very softly. Back where Milo was chasing like a horse race, Cassia took a piece of wood to open the handcuffs, and after successfully she disturbed Corvus, so that the horse-drawn carriage made the two fall. Milo immediately went down and found Cassia still survived. Then Corvus immediately attacked, and Milo immediately fought him. Fortunately, Cassia helped Milo quickly put handcuffs on Corvus's hand to the horse-drawn carriage. At the same time, Mount Vesuvius erupted more powerful than the last time. While Edius, who was dying, enjoying the fireworks show while shouting, "I am now a free person," Milo and Cassia immediately went to save themselves, leaving Corvus into a scorched stake in the place. On the way, the horse was scared to make both of them fall. Then Milo realizes that the horse will be faster if the burden is reduced, then tells Cassia to leave it. But Cassia refused, because it prefers to die with loved ones. Then, they do a kiss for the first and last time. Finally, they were killed by hot clouds from the mountain, which is now a legend. The film ends. Message from this film: humans have long tried to dominate nature. with exploration and mining beyond the limits, make humans the most arrogant creatures on Earth. But in the end, all will be aware when nature shows various disasters and chaos, makes humans like lambs who are afraid of waiting for death.